What's going on, guys? Tony here, CCxRC, and on the bench, we've got two ARRMA Senton 3S BLX 4x4 short course trucks in the green and the orange variety. These things are awesome. These things have both been run, so they're dirty, guys. This isn't a typical unboxing for the channel. We got these for a practical reason. We wanted to race them down at Buddy Cheek's place in Carolina. The Carolina RC Park. It's an oval dirt track. So much fun, epic track. And anyway, my son was going to drive this one. My niece was going to drive this one while she was there. Plus, I want them for kids to have equal racing trucks here to run around in the backyard. Equal power. We're going to keep them exactly the same, pretty much stock, except for one thing, which we'll talk about later on. But these things are so awesome out of the box, guys. For 300 bucks, what you can get these days in the RC hobby is insane. And I really, really love these trucks. We've already run them, like I've said, we've run them in the backyard. I've done speed tests. We've done a lot with them already, so they're a little bit dirty when we show you here. It's not a typical unboxing for us on the channel. Usually we do that before we run them. This time we're doing a little bit backwards, so we'll be able to give you kind of a little review as we talk about it. Suspension on these things out of the box is pretty cool, but they are set up to bash with and to run on all terrain, which is great for most people. If you want to race these, we'll talk about some things you could do to make them a little bit more race ready. So let's do it. All right, so we do have two of these. Again, they are four-wheel drive. You can see the dirt that we've collected on here. But this body's camouflaged. It actually kind of camouflages some of the dirt as well. The graphics on these are awesome, I think. They've kind of got like black chrome type of rims on them. I don't mind it too much. I prefer blacked out wheels totally, but this doesn't bother me a whole lot, especially with the body on. You know, a lot of people change tires anyway. Aesthetically, it looks all right to me. And they're pretty good tires too, as far as grip goes, tread. Nice foams in them, and yeah, big knobby tires. They hook up pretty good, especially in the grass, dirt as well. The one thing is, though, the truck does stand up kind of tall, which we'll talk about because it's a basher. We'll look at that later. But body clips are held on by these nice rubber tethers that they've got, which are amazing. So you don't lose them. You're never looking for them. It says ARRMA BLX Power. Under here, it says their slogan, "Don't just bash, blast." You can see we actually did puncture the body a little bit already. Normally I will go in and Gorilla Tape these. I did not get a chance to do that with this one. Adds a little bit of weight, but it definitely gives it some more durability. The kids were flipping and rolling these, and they held up pretty good to the abuse. We must have punctured this. I don't even know on what. Something went through it though. But overall, it held up to the abuse. And again, I really like the stylings. The design team at ARRMA, fantastic job. So we did do some cleanup, and it actually cleaned up a little bit better than normal because we did put some of the QuickLinks Moose Slick on it. I did not get in there right after the race and clean it up, so some of it stuck on there a little bit more, and I need to rinse it down and all that. But I did cut out the little receiver box here in order to put this MyLaps on here for racing, which does not come as part of the truck. Neither does this extension that you see sticking out of here. So that's something that I added in. And you could do it out the front here where all the other stuff's coming out, and it's got a little rubber piece to keep it from, you know, having to cut into the box. But this was just easier for me. Got it up out of the way. There's so much extra cable too that if I did it here, it just was bunched weird. And I just opted to do it back here. It tucks out of the way when it is not being in play instead of up in here and in the way. So let's go around the car here. We've got the BLX 100, which is a 100 amp ESC. It's styled off of the Hobby Wing, and it mounts to your receiver box here with two screws. You remove those and it takes off the ESC, but it also allows you to get in here, get inside of the box, and do what I did, which is to add this little thing. And so I think it's a 3-channel, if I recall, receiver in there. You have your on-off switch right here up front, and that has a little screw that holds it down. Now, a lot of this is really easy to work on. That's what I love about these. That's why I actually chose this truck, because I'm going to be letting a lot of kids that come over and visit run these, and my plan is to get actually 2 more, and then to get the mega truck bodies for them. So we have green, orange, red, and blue, and so we just keep them all stock and looking cool. Do a little bit of branding for ARRMA that way, so they know what trucks to buy if they want to go get one. We have the ARRMA Servo up here, and this Servo is their ADS 7M. It's a 7 kilogram Servo, waterproof, by ARRMA, tucked in here. And that's what we're going to talk about in a little bit. You know, they actually just today, funny enough, posted a little poll about these, asking people their opinions about ARRMA servos. And so, you know, overall on my Granite, that's been good, and the mega truck Senton that I had, the servo was no problem. But we did have the one here that I actually have out of the truck. So I did have this servo here, this ADS 7M servo, go bad. And it's not the gears. The gears in it are fine. But every time I turn on the truck, it would just go hard right, and it wouldn't respond to anything from the controller to turn left. It just would hammer it to the right. You turn it off, everything moved fine. All the gears were good. So I think that there's something wrong with the electronics in this. But you can see I had it set all up to race. It kind of actually gave us a bit of a fit right before all the racing started, which was crazy. We'd only run it in the backyard, and I'd done the speed test with it, and that's on the green one. It's the first one I ran, and had the issues with it. And I actually kind of noticed it when I was putting the my laps on there, and you know, the wheels were off, and so I set the trim all the way left and it straightened. But the more that we ran it, it would never just do anything but go fully right. Wouldn't adjust, or even with the controls allow it to go left at all. I recentered it and everything, took it all apart, put it back together with everything centered. After turning it on, letting it center the servo, same thing, hard right. So I think that there was something wrong with the board or something on this one. I don't know. But it's a stock servo. It's not worth me filing a report with them. You know, a lot of stock servos and a lot of trucks, that's kind of what I've had an issue with. And most ready-to-run trucks is a servo. From me, they're hitting something or whatever, the gear's not being metal. But these are metal geared. So anyway, it does run IC5 connectors. So this is a new thing with the Horizon Hobby version of these Sentons, is that they've adapted over to their connectors. I actually thought it was going to come with an IC3 connector and work perfectly with my Venom batteries and the adapters that I have, but it doesn't. So luckily I have an IC5, actually it's an EC5, which EC5 still works. EC5 to XT60s, which for this ESC is going to be plenty fine. This is overkill, which is awesome of them to overkill this plug for this ESC. So I actually appreciate that. I think it's great. Just means that I'm going to have to convert all my batteries now to EC5s, which I haven't done yet. Here is your motor. Let's look at the motor in here. It does have a heat sink. So let's move on over to the motor. We've got the ARRMA BLX 3200 kV 4-pole motor. This is a 3660 can, and it's running a 5mm shaft on it. Back here is where you're going to have your pinion and your spur gear. Pinion over here, spur gear over here. To get to that is a very easy task of a few screws on the bottom. Lift this, it all pulls out. You can get to everything real easy. I like what they've done as far as working on these trucks. Getting to the diffs is super easy as well, and they've got a whole bunch of videos on their site showing that, and it's really fantastic. While we're here, we look at the battery tray, one of my favorite things. What is it, guys? Velcro. You know that I love Velcro straps for my batteries. Holds them in place really well, allows you to adjust for size, and I'm just a big proponent of these over having some kind of a plastic thing that you put in body clips and all that kind of. And just give me Velcro and I'm happy. You can see here the spring-loaded plastic. Again, it's a plastic spring-loaded drive shaft, and it does have this bearing in here to and a little spacer support because it's so long, to give that a little bit of extra support so that it doesn't move a whole lot and holds it in place. And they've actually got a bearing on it to allow it to spin freely, and it gets locked in by this to kind of hold it in place. Really cool design, I think, on that. I'll give them thumbs up. Seems to hold up pretty good based on what we've been doing with it so far. And you can see by what I've just done how easily you'll be able to pull this out of here just like that, and you pulled out the drive shaft. Very cool. Just take this off and adjust it, but I think that they changed that, at least on the Granite. I know that they did. So, but yeah, that easily drive shaft is back and installed. They've got spacers here for your battery to kind of keep it in place. Everything's tucked in real nice on this. I love the design, the honeycomb that they've got throughout on their graphics. I'm a big fan of their graphics team. Plastic, mainly up front, plastic telescoping drive shafts. Actually, I've had some issues with telescopic drive shafts in the past. On these ARRMAs, like even the Granite, I've had no issues with them under a lot of abuse that I've put them through. So actually, big thumbs up there for both plastic drive shaft systems that they've put in here. It takes quite a bit of abuse. You do have adjustable turnbuckles here. You can see adjustable right here, plastic ends, really big and beefy, so it looks good. Diffs easily accessible again in there. Shock towers, you know, a little bit different design in that the shock set inside of them, and then it's plastic molded around on each side, but it is like solid inside as well, so it's a lot of plastic there, and it's very rigid actually. So that's pretty nice. The bumper does allow some flex here. It's got a little bit of a cushion. It is hinged as well, so that's allowing some movement there. We've crashed these into the walls at the track. No breakages. Shocks are all plastic, except for, of course, the spring. But the retainers here and the clips that you can put in here for your preload clips, it comes with some extras of those in the box, as well as some cool stickers and instructions on how to get in here and work on all this stuff, which again is pretty easy. I do like these shock guards that they do put on the bottoms here. A little bit of extra protection from things hitting and popping these off. In the back, your rear bumper, a little bit more big. People actually make some mud flaps that you can get for these, I've seen, that you can put on and install. It does have wheelie bars. Mine don't spin very well. Or wheels. That's a wheelie bar built right into the bumper, but not a whole lot of movement from that on mine, so I might have to try and lube that up and see if we can get any more movement out of them, because it's pretty much just like dragging plastic at that point, which there's also these little bumpers and buffers here on the bottom. So overall, really well designed. The green one, same thing, graphics, awesome. I can show you real quick the change here. You know, you can see I do have the black servo in here because I did have to swap that out, which is actually not too bad. I'll get into it a little bit, but on the bottom is how you get to a lot of the stuff, and it's got hexes. And so it's literally just 1, 2, 3, 4 screws, but you also have to go in here. You can see the screw in there. So you've got to undo that in order to take it apart from the whole steering mechanism and drop out. This whole component will drop out, then you can get to all the 4 screws on there easily, reset it all up. Couple things to note here. Rocks can get in here, potentially jamming up your servo, and so if you're going to be in a really rocky area, it may not hurt you to kind of tape some of this up a little bit, maybe keep some rocks out of there. But I guess on the flip side is if any rocks get in here where you've got this nice tray or this guard, but it does keep potentially rocks stuck in here, and so that hole might allow them to get out. So it's up to you if you're getting stuff jammed in there. It might be something you think about, is just kind of, you know, taping that bottom up to keep it from coming up through the bottom. But I don't know that that's going to be a problem. I've just heard some people talk about it. You can see, but here and here are 2 access points for this. and for screws to be able to undo them. But just something to think about. So that was one kind of interesting thing that I noted when I was working on the servo and removing it, which was a very quick and pretty much painless process. So I think that's everything that I wanted to cover about the truck. Overall, again, you know, servos have gone on my Losi. That was the first thing to go on my Losi 10 SCTE. It was also the first thing to go on my Traxxas Stampede Gravedigger that I got, my first RC truck, other than breaking an arm and things like that off from hitting curbs, which also is probably what made the servo go. But stock servos are something that you kind of see go. And so I did pick up one of these EcoPower servos just to have on hand. It's $39.99. You can get servos for cheaper than this. These have a decent warranty. They perform really well. So far, everything for me has performed really well on these. 6-volt max on these, which these ESCs are locked to. So yeah, anyway, it's a decent solution. I picked this up at Hobbytown in Virginia Beach here, and I've got them in several of my trucks, and they do really well. So they have, you know, stronger versions of these as well. This is kind of the entry level of these, the WP 110T. And so yeah, I've got 2 of them here that I keep in my toolbox, because again, that is something that on these you're bashing, you're crashing into each other. You know, it's just something that can go. It has a servo saver, should help with that a lot. And like I said, I've not had issues on my other ones, and even this one doesn't seem to be gear related from crashing. So I don't know exactly what is wrong with this one. I'll have to open it up and look inside to get a better idea. Yeah, I don't mind dropping a little bit knowing that these work good. Still, the price point that I'm getting into these at is so great. They run on 2S, 3S LiPo. Again, it's capable of up to, you know, 50 miles an hour 3S with the gearing that is included in the truck, and unbelievable at the price point that these come in. They do stand up a lot. They have a fairly high center of gravity, and that's so that they can drive on all kinds of terrain, get over grass and do that. So you could do something. What I should have done probably when I was racing is remove some of these shock clips here and allow it to sit a little bit lower. You could get shorter shocks if you wanted it to sit even lower. But I think the first thing that I'm going to do before I do that is just kind of take off some of these clips when I go racing. But when I'm in the backyard, I want the height on this. But overall, the suspension on it feels really good for a ready-to-run truck, and I'm really impressed again with what ARRMA is bringing out with these 3S vehicles. Makes me really want to try the 4S. I haven't even done their 6S stuff yet. I do have the Infraction, but I haven't done any of their other Basher 6S, which I'd love to give a go. I've driven a few people's, but not had my own where I really could feel like I could go to town with it and not worry about breaking somebody's car. Alright guys, so I'm actually doing a pickup shot of this. I forgot to get video of it when I did the car review. This is the STX2 transmitter that comes with the Senton and the new ARRMA vehicles right now. You know, there's mixed reviews on these. A lot of people really liked the tactics that used to come with ARRMA vehicles, and I liked them. They came with the axials. I really did like them. I like the form factor. You know, they always worked well for me. And so now I've got this in a couple vehicles, and I'll honestly say I don't really have an issue with this. I do wish it had foam on here or rubber grip. But overall, I mean, it feels like a Spectrum controller to me. And it has some nice features actually up top here. So it's got throttle limit right here, so you can set the speed of the vehicle for them. You've got throttle rates here, steering rate, steering trim, and throttle trims as well. And then you've got here you've got reverses in case it's set up backwards for whatever reason. Takes 4 AA batteries. Overall, I think it does fairly well for what it is. It's you know, a stock transmitter, and you know, at the price point these cars come in, I think it's, you know, fairly decent actually, especially in the lower end model cars. You want to talk about the 6S ones, that's a different story, but for the Senton 3S, Granite 3S, I think it's a pretty decent controller. Anyway guys, thanks for tuning in. As always, let us know in the comments below, do you have one of these? If so, what has your experience been? What do you want to know about them? We'll be doing some speed runs. We've already got the race footage, and you know, we've really been running these in the backyard. They're performing really well, and you know, it's really hard to beat for the price. This, the Granite 3S. I want to try the Typhon 3S. This is a great, easy to carry around vehicle. They're not too big. You don't need a lot of batteries, you know, to get up to 6S power or even 4S if you know, doing two 2S batteries. Just, it's cheaper to get into. It's cheaper to buy batteries for. And yeah, I think, you know, ARRMA is killing it with these in this range, and I know that they're doing awesome with the bigger sizes as well. I have the Infraction and love it. So keep doing what you're doing, ARRMA. We like it. As bashers and as an RC community, you guys are really kind of stepping up and pushing things forward for us and bringing prices down, and you know, the quality that we're getting at those lower prices is going way up. Back when I started, you wouldn't have been able to get anything brushless at this price point. You'd have been brushed, probably 2-wheel drive. Now it's 4-wheel drive, brushless power, fast, durable, and what can you say? Anyway, again, thanks for tuning in, guys. Have fun RCing. We'll catch you next time.